All right.
All right.
Yeah.
I have returned.
Sweet. So what kind of, while we're just waiting here, tell everyone about your YouTube channel.
Okay.
While we're waiting on the other guys.
All right, sure thing. Well, guys. As she has already talked about, I am HylianLuke. I do a lot of Zelda-related content on my channel. I do Zelda live streams, and Nintendo live streams in general. Sometimes I play, but then I'm out to just Spyro and Crash and Banjo-Kazooie. You know, just I'm a very like Nintendo kid-friendly platforming channel. So if you want to check me out, feel free. I just finished a Wind Waker randomizer playthrough. I'm going to be doing Ocarina of Time here in the next couple of days. So if you want to check out my channel, feel free to check it out.
That sounds nice.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, SupaPixelGi just messaged me.
Oh.
She said, you can't read it.
No, I can't.
It's too small. She says, I'm so sorry. I'm very sick. Been throwing up since early morning. I am miserable.
Oh,
I said,
no.
man, that sucks. Hope you end up feeling better. And, yeah, she's still.
Well, she's
typing.
welcome next week if she wants to still.
Get well soon.
Come on, but hope she feel better.
Get well soon.
Connor back? No.
Connor, come back.
Okay. Luke, finish telling people about your YouTubes. What's
Tell
your most
us.
popular YouTube videos? Tell the chat.
Okay. Well, my channel is mainly known because I made a couple of parody trailers for Breath of the Wild before it came out. I made 2 trailers called Zelda Breath of the Wind Waker. They got super popular because they're parody trailers. I basically replicated the E3 Breath of the Wild trailer and the Nintendo Switch presentation trailers for Breath of the Wild in Wind Waker, and I went all out and I made a custom Breath of the Wild Toon Link costume for him, and I put a lot of time into doing the cinematics, and I did it from a Wind Waker perspective. So I basically did stuff that Wind Waker is best known for versus what Breath of the Wild is best known for. So I just kind of implemented Wind Waker's own thing into the trailers, and they were pretty popular. The first one I did got over 300,000 views, so I was very proud of myself for that. And the second one got 110K, I think. So that was awesome. I was so proud of myself because I took a film class, so I used my skills from the film class to make the trailers, and they did very well. And then my third,
Skimming through that trailer actually right now, and it's like the way like you've got all the camera pans and everything nailed down really nicely actually, and
oh, thank you, man.
Very good work. I like it.
Thank you. Yeah, I remember Master of Hyrule and Massentire loved it, and Zeltic shared both of them on his Twitter and stuff. Like, he loved them, and I was like, yes, because I really like Zeltic's channel, so it made me happy that he liked them.
How did we get to know each other? Like, did you find my YouTube channel? Did I find yours? Did we meet on Twitter first?
I remember I've been watching your channel, Jesse, for like a while, but like it wasn't until a couple years ago when I decided to start doing my own stuff. And just after the trailers I made, I started to just constantly stream and like do stuff. And I think I found your channel, Jesse, just from covering news on Zelda and stuff like that, and I was super into it. But how we met, I think it was through Hylian CC. I think that's how it was. But I'm not too sure on that. I think I might have just like messaged you and you messaged back, and I was like, oh, cool, someone respects me.
That's funny how that kind of like weird long-term thing. Also, I just gotta say, further watching this trailer, it's really good.
Thank you.
It's really well done, and like my first thought is that you would have just used Link's like pajamas like outfit, but like you really went all out with the detail on it. Gave him like a champion's tunic, and it's like a very good shot-for-shot remake, but it's nothing like faked. I don't think so. I think he's on. Yeah, like everything's like almost shot-for-shot remake, but nothing's like faked. You know, like it's all actual stuff from Wind Waker, which is what I think is what's so charming about it all.
Do you guys know?
Loving it.
In the Zelda Encyclopedia, it says Hylians ventured to the forest, made it their homes, and then over time they became the Kokiri.
Right, something.
What? I didn't know that.
Yeah. But then, like,
I have to reread that. I
wasn't like I thought there was an interview or something where Aonuma said that the Kokiri began as the Koroks and were changed into the Kokiri. So they
like that the Koroks are like their normal.
Yeah. And then they were changed into the Kokiri so they would resemble Link more and make him feel more comfortable. And then they were turned back to the Koroks. I thought Aonuma said that in an interview. But there's a lot of stuff in Zelda Encyclopedia where, like, I think they didn't have official information from Nintendo, so they just made up their own theories. Yeah.
Yeah. It's possible, because it's not really written, like, by Nintendo. It's not like Aonuma sat down and wrote the whole book, right? So
yeah, like, there's other stuff in there that's messed up, too, like the, Termina being created when Majora puts on the mask.
And
because
the
like,
recap of the plot for Ocarina of Time is a little bit wrong, actually. Because in Ocarina of Time's the story recap it gives, it says that after Link defeats Goma, the Great Deku Tree tells Link that he's a Hylian and tells Link about his origins, and then sends him off to meet Zelda. Which is not actually how those chain events happen, because it's not till you're an adult and the Deku Tree Sprout tells you, you may have noticed that you have aged, and Kokiri don't age. Guess what? You're not. You're actually a Hylian.
Yeah.
Even though like that should be super obvious at that point, but yeah, it's Oops. The book is not perfect. There are some errors in there. So.
Yeah, and like the thing about Termina existing with like this is the
in the mind of.
Yeah, this is the last part of the video script that I sent Ilya. I don't know if she's watching now, but the last one was talking about, is it real? Like Termina, like, is it real or whatever? Because Zelda Encyclopedia says blah blah blah. So that says Termina's created when he puts on, like when he puts on the mask, like Thanos. Everything is created. When he takes it off at the end of the game, everything is gone. But
okay, but then at the end of the game, when he takes it off, it's not gone.
Yeah. So
right.
the mask drops the Skull Kid. And it wouldn't have been the Skull Kid who created all of it anyways, because the mask was possessing the Skull Kid. The Skull Kid was never necessarily using the mask's power, because the mask tells him, like at the end of the game, that he was using the Skull Kid as a puppet. the whole time. But anyways, when the mask drops the Skull Kid and then it starts floating before it takes Link up to the moon, there would have been a situation to where as soon as the mask left the Skull Kid, Termina, the clock town, the clock tower you're standing on, all of it would have just disappeared. And then even at the end of the game, the Happy Mask salesman says that all of the evil power has left the mask. So, but when he tells you that and he's holding the mask, he is in the, like you're still in Termina Field. So like, if there's no power left in the mask, then Termina Field shouldn't exist. If we go by what Zelda Encyclopedia says. And then there's also the scene where when you come up on the southern swamp, the Skull Kid's doing cartwheels and stuff because he's happy, and the fairies are there with them. And then in an early part of that cutscene,
pre him, like it's a flashback before he got the mask.
And then that same cutscene starts out the night before, where Skull Kid's hiding in the log from the rain. He's either crying or shaking because he's cold, and that's when the fairies first find him. And it's like none of that could have happened if Termina existed when he put on the mask, because that was all like days or weeks before he even knew the mask existed.
Right.
So like the game itself contradicts what Zelda Encyclopedia says, and that's what the entire last part of like, instead of like an organized script, the fifth thing is just like throwing out all of the facts without editorializing it. So anyways, I don't know if Connor's back yet. You're still muted, so if you've been talking, we haven't been able to hear you. So this doesn't go on any longer. Luke, go ahead and tell us what your thing is. So you were talking about what you loved the most. So start off where you left off before my thing froze up.
I don't remember. We were talking. I think I was talking about for like the character designs in Twilight Princess.
No. Your thing that you loved the most about Twilight Princess.
He said the
the
locales and stuff already.
I said the locations.
Oh, that was you first. So Daniel, it's your turn.
What I love about Twilight Princess. So, Twilight Princess has probably some of the best dungeon design of any Zelda game. It is some of the most creative puzzles, and though the dungeon design does follow a bit of a formula, it's executed really well. And that's always something when I think back, like, okay, when I think back on like, what do I want to go play Twilight Princess for? What's the reason I want to go back and play it? It always comes back to the dungeons. They're so fantastic in that game. And I love that they're not just all like, this is the temple of this element, and this is the temple of this element. They get really creative, like, these are Goron's mines. This is this abandoned mansion. This is, like they're very unique locations that are really built into the world of the game with a lot of implied backstory that you don't even learn about, but it's like implied to be there as well. And I love the dungeons. That's in my opinion, one of the best things about the game.
Yeah, they're not just random dungeons there for no reason. Like, they actually have a purpose. Like being the Yeti's house, or like the place that the Zoro worship, or
the Arbitrator's grounds, like a prison that's defunct, abandoned. Yeah.
So I will say the Temple of Light, Temple of Time, however you want to call it. I want to read the Japanese name for it and see if it's called the Temple of Light. And then they just made it
probably
the
just called Temple of Time, but
yeah. So
I don't know.
The thing with that should be another thing with the different medallions. They should have like the light medallion, but then there should have also been the time medallion in Ocarina of Time.
That like Zelda would give you, I guess, as the last sage.
Well, or
that Rory would give you that one, and Zelda would
in
have
Ura,
the light medallion.
So in the Ura expansion, there is supposed to be the light dungeon where you would get the light medallion. So maybe there would have been, because we don't know what the other dungeons were. There was like the wind dungeon, the ice dungeon, rumors of a sky dungeon,
right?
Which would have been, I guess, the wind dungeon. So like, there's all these different things. So maybe there would have been, like how there's the wind medallion and then all the stuff. Anyways, it's just random thoughts. So what was your favorite dungeon, since you like the dungeons the most?
Gosh, narrowing it down to just one of them. I feel like Arbiter's Grounds is really fun. I think it's a really good dungeon. With like a really neat structure and premise. Like it's almost like the dungeon. It's almost like two dungeons actually in one. The first one being like the first section where it's basically like, okay, you are into the main hall, the 4 pose, you got to hunt down all 4 pose, and which direction and order. I think you can actually do them in different orders. It doesn't have to be like one linear order, but you basically have the 4 objectives to find, and then you move on into the next room, and then it's kind of a different linear twisting dungeon after that. But one of the things is that that's one of the only dungeons where it really uses the mechanic of Link having its transformation being required for the dungeon. Almost all the other dungeons, I don't think the first 3 you can't yet. And then I think the other ones after that, you don't really need to for very much. But this dungeon put kind of an emphasis on that, which is a great mechanic in the game, to be able to freely transform back. I like that. And so you kind of go into this dungeon feeling quite like a powerful Link, because you've just trudged through Arbiter's Grounds exterior, where you fought all these bokoblins, or no, they're bulbins outside, and you've just got the Master Sword, and now you have this new ability to transform back and forth. And the puzzles in there are really neat with that. So I really like the Arbiter's Grounds as one of the really strong dungeons in that game.
All right.
Yes.
What was your favorite dungeon?
Well, before I do mine, I just want to say that your idea was awesome. I really like that dungeon too, especially the boss, Stalord. That was an incredibly fun boss.
The Beyblade battle.
The Beyblade battle with the Volvagia music. Oh,
yes. No, the music in that gets you pumped. I love it.
Yeah, it does. It's like very adrenaline rushing. But my favorite dungeon, I would have to say, is the Temple of Time. Like, I just love getting to that part. Just the entire atmosphere. I love the whole idea of going to the past. I love the idea of like going through history and like being a part of something that once was. And
also, I'm back.
Welcome back. Finally.
Yeah,
welcome back.
Mac is back.
Mac is back.
So, a quick recap. Daniel said his favorite thing were the dungeons. So now we're talking about what each of our favorite dungeon is. Luke, continue.
All right. Yeah, I just really love the Temple of Time, because the whole going into the dungeon, and it's basically like a big long hallway, and then you have to traverse back through the entire hallway. Because you go all the way down to the last room. You have to go to solve all these puzzles without at the time you don't have the Dominion Rod, but then you go all the way to the end into the sub boss room, and you fight a Dark Nut for the first time.
Great battle too. And
that is super awesome. They're a lot more intense to fight than in Wind Waker. In either one, they're still a blast to fight. But in Twilight Princess, it's just a lot more challenging, because they actually look threatening, because it looks like this big, heavy knight, and they've got this big club, and they're ready to pound you in the face with it. And but once you defeat him, you get the Dominion Rod, and then you use the Dominion Rod, and you get the statue, and you basically just wreak havoc through all the other rooms. And you just break everything in your path with the statue until you get all the way back to the boss area, and you fight Armagoma, in which you could possess those giant statues and just pounded into the ground. I loved that. It was so satisfying to just pound it. Plus, I have slight arachnophobia, so it was super satisfying to just watch this giant spider suffer from the wrath of God. I loved that. But yeah,
I always found that to be one of the weaker fights in that game, but like the way you putting it that way, I can see it definitely being far more entertaining.
And then plus when you defeat Armagoma, it's like, oh, I defeated the boss. Oh, nope, no, you didn't. There's like the true Armagoma, and it's like that little spider with the big body of the eye with all of its babies, and then you have to kill that. But yeah, I really liked that dungeon.
All right, Connor, what's your favorite dungeon in Twilight Princess?
Honestly, I don't know. It's kind of a hard choice, you know.
It is.
I would say probably the ice dungeon. I really like
the Snow Peak Temple or Snow Peak Ruins Mansion,
Ruins.
The Yeti House, the Soup Dungeon.
So I will say the Sky City Temple thing was really fun.
Oh yeah,
the Sky Dungeon's really cool. And then the boss fight's kind of epic. Like, you couldn't do much with the dragon on the GameCube's hardware. So, like, the dragon had to remain stationary because, again, the GameCube hardware is very limited. But it would have been... It would have been, like, they could have made that 10 times better, but as it was still really cool. They did as much as they could with the limitations they had. Or like on the PlayStation,
double claw shots.
Yeah, and like on the PlayStation 3, there's like giant dragons like in Skyrim flying around everywhere. But because this wasn't like at the time the next gen hardware, they had to keep it sort of simple.
I love what we got though, just claw shotting the back of that dragon and then just stabbing it in the back. I loved that. It was so satisfying.
Yeah.
And then yeah, I just like the ice dungeon. There's like the ice block puzzles return. There's some cool stuff. They kind of kept sending you on little fetch quests, and then the main boss was right in front of you the whole time. So it was really interesting.
Oh yeah.
What?
Some soup.
Oh yeah. So I guess that comes to me. So the last best thing, I guess, about the game, I would say is the story.
The story.
Yeah, for the first time.
It's good.
For the first time, the Zelda game makes you care about your partner. Like, no one ever really cared about Ezlo from Minish Cap. I don't think. Like,
I kind of did.
Care about him more so than like a normal character. Like, he wasn't bad, but he wasn't necessarily good for me. The boat and Wind Waker, like,
well,
really
I like the boats.
I did, but
I like him.
It's
Like,
the King of Hyrule.
Like, hey. So,
Hey.
You remember when he said, hey?
Yeah, but like, I think
you can't forget.
I think they did a lot better job with Midna, though.
Yeah.
Because you use her for gameplay, you use her for story elements. There's more of a connection with the character, so when she leaves at the end, it doesn't feel like it's just rehashing the same thing from Ocarina of Time, where your partner leaves you. In this, it feels like there's more weight to it, because there was a lot more of a connection, where there was all the back and forth with that. And then the story itself was had a huge plot twist in it, which Ocarina of Time had a plot twist where, like, you end up becoming an adult and you get to see how everything's changed. So in a way, that's sort of a plot twist. But in Twilight Princess, it's like, oh no, it was Ganondorf the entire time, where you thought the big bad guy was Zant. So your first time playing it, if you weren't spoiled, then when you get to that moment, it's like a rush of nostalgia coming back to you. So I thought that was really cool. So collectively, what is the best thing about because we need the fifth. So we each had one individually. So what is something we can all decide was great about Twilight Princess?
I want to just say
the music.
Oh, the items. The music's good. The items are also good.
I mean, the ball and chain was pretty awesome.
Yes.
The items were very unique.
Mm-hmm.
Ball and chain, the spinner,
Mm-hmm.
bomb arrows were an actual thing, not just a glitch.
Yep.
Or not necessarily a glitch, but a bug, whatever you want to call it. So that was really cool. Yeah, so I guess we can move on to the last thing, what we hated. We can try to get through this one a little bit quicker.
Sure.
Instead of talking about what we, like in this case, like one person said they liked the dungeons and then we all talked about what we liked about the dungeons.
Mm-hmm.
We'll just individually say what we disliked and then move on.
Okay.
To make it go quicker. So,
sure.
What's up, everybody? I am Jesse, or Game Over Jesse, as you all may know me. This is episode 47 of the Hylian Gamescast. We're going to be talking about the top 5 things that we dislike or hate the most about Twilight Princess. So we have another video up where we talk about the top 5 things we love about Twilight Princess. You can go watch that video when you finish this one. So don't think it's just us hating on Twilight Princess. Personally, I really like it. I think everybody else here likes it as well. But we didn't want to be completely biased and just talking about everything we hate about the game or everything we loved about the game. So we're making a video on each to compare and contrast to get a full perspective on the review. Because usually if a game's a 10 out of 10 and you go to see a review for it or read a review, or it's a 9 out of 10, even an 8 out of 10, they don't really list that many bad things about it, because if there was a lot of bad things about the game, then it wouldn't be a 10 out of 10 or a 9 out of 10. It would be a 5 out of 10 or 6 out of 10, whatever. So to make this as non-biased as possible, because this is a Zelda channel, just like we did with Breath of the Wild, Ocarina of Time, Wind Waker, Skyward Sword, we're doing the same thing with Twilight Princess, listing the 5 things we love the most and the 5 things that we dislike the most. We also have a giveaway going on right now. If you look in the comments below or the description, there is a link to a giveaway hosted by Gleam. So you click the link and you can enter the giveaway 5 different ways if you're watching this video long after it posts. So if you come sometime in September, November, December, whatever, you can still enter a giveaway. Just go to whatever our newest video is and enter the giveaway there, because this one will be ending around August 22nd. So if you're watching after that day, you can still enter a giveaway. You just have to click on whatever the newest video is. This giveaway is for a $20 eShop card. I believe the next one we're actually giving away a $50 eShop card, because this one has been so successful. It is with Nintendo Prime and I. You just have to go to the link below, click it, and then you can easily enter 5 different ways. It only takes a few seconds. It automatically subscribes you to the channel, follows us on Twitter, and posts a tweet about the giveaway. So you can do it all in like 5 seconds. Just click the link. But starting our actual video, as great as Twilight Princess was, or as mediocre as it was, depending on how you look at it. But in my case, as great as it is, it still had some shortcomings. So starting with you, Daniel, what was the main thing about Twilight Princess that you feel could have been better, or that you just disliked entirely about the game?
Well, we mentioned in our things we like about it video how creative and unique the items in Twilight Princess are. So I'm sure a lot of people see this coming, but the one thing that I feel like Twilight Princess fell short on is that they had all these great, interesting, unique items, and they just didn't use them enough. Like, they were very underutilized. So, example, the spinner, you get an Arbiter's Ground dungeon. You use it a lot in that dungeon, even in the boss fight. And then there's like 2 puzzles outside of the dungeon that you actually need to use it for. One's for like a heart piece in the Hyrule Fields, and then another one for like in Ganon's Tower. And I might be hyperbolizing a bit, but after that dungeon, how much do you really use the spinner after that? Just not very much. So they had all these great items, and then they didn't put them to good use. And it just feels like wasted potential.
How dare they?
Wasted potential.
How dare you?
Yeah.
How dare you?
Yeah, it's kind of like
You monster.
once you get the bow and arrow, you don't really use the slingshot.
Oh yeah, no, not at all. So
Yeah.
Pretty much.
So yeah, like items could have definitely been used more. Like some things like the iron boots or the ball and chain could be used. Like if there's a boulder or something that you need to break, you're out of bombs or like whatever weapon you typically use, you could still use the ball and chain, but there was no actual need to use it later on. So yeah, very good. Number 4 on our list, Luke. What is the thing that you like or dislike the most? Sorry. When it was a situation.
The thing that I disliked most about Twilight Princess was everything that had to do with
Everything had to do with what? Sorry, you cut out.
the wolf.
The wolf.
I did not.
I don't like Holly either. Horrible.
Jeez. I did not like the whole being like, it felt like I like the idea, but they didn't do it right, I guess, if that makes sense, because they make it's more of like a gimmicky thing instead of being something that should be a part of the entire game. Because it's used in the beginning of the game, only in the Twilight areas. You collect all the bugs, you go back to being a human, and then when you get the Master Sword, you don't ever use it again. Like, you barely do. Like, it's completely optional at that point. So like, it felt kind of weird, and also like the attacking and like the stuff you can do as a wolf is pretty cool. I like that, but there was just so much more the wolf could have been, and it just felt more gimmicky, and it made me just overall not like it.
Yeah. There's what were you saying, Daniel?
Well, and also like it just, as far as like game feel goes, Link in his Hylian form is just feels far better to play as him. Like he has so much more that he is capable of doing as when he's not a wolf. So it's like a huge restriction is placed on you when you're in wolf form.
Yeah. Because Hylian Link feels finished.
Yes. Yeah. He has all his like fleshed out mechanics. And wolf form is great when you can freely transform back and forth, because it's like, okay, this is something I need to be a wolf to do, and then you can transform back to Hylian form when you need to do this other thing, and that's great. But then when you get forced into it, and you're like, do your chores as Wolf Link, it's a drag, you know?
It is.
Yeah.
I'm just like, hurry up! I want to be a human again.
Yeah. Especially the
Don't
Tears of
look
Light
for bugs.
and as Wolf Link.
Yeah, exactly.
So like every time that you got to an area where you had to turn into Wolf Link, it really felt like the game starts to like drag down a bit. So like,
especially like, because I mentioned before, like the dungeons being such a high point of the game for me. So it sucks when you finish, like, let's say you finish the Forest Temple or the Goron Mines or something. You come out of a dungeon and you're like feeling great. And you're like, great, I just finished the dungeon. Now I gotta go look for the next dungeon. And then it's like, okay, but before you do that, you gotta be a wolf and look for some bugs again.
And there's some situations to where you can't transform if someone's watching.
Yes.
And it's like, you can go hide somewhere to where it's like, clearly no one can see you, but you still get the message sometimes. So that's really annoying. Sexy Mech. Wait, sorry, what? Someone said something?
Yeah, I was going to say that also, I can tell that like with the transformation of the wolf, they kind of tried to make it feel like Majora's Mask transformations. But like the difference in there, though, is that if they had made the dungeons after getting the Master Sword implementing a lot of wolf stuff, because like Dan, like you said in the likable stuff in Twilight Princess video, how the Arbiter's Grounds implements wolf and human forms, If they had done that for all of the dungeons after the Master Sword, then it would not have felt as gimmicky because it was a part of the game the entire time. But it's kind of like in Majora's Mask when you get a new mask, a new transformation mask, and then it's implemented into the dungeons. And you can also use other masks that you've already gotten to progress. Yeah. So like I just got the Goron mask. I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna speed up, go over this ramp. Oh, there's a Deku Sprout flower. I'm gonna become a Deku Link, and then I'm gonna fly over here. And then Twilight Princess doesn't really do that. They're just kind of, here's a dungeon. You're gonna be a human the entire time. Wolf doesn't matter here. Wolf matters here, but not here. And then human form matters here and not here. It's kind of separated.
Yeah. There's talking about going back to the items, the gimmicky thing that you mentioned with in Ganon's castle or Hyrule Castle, however you want to look at it. There's parts where like the staircase is broken, so you have to use the spinner to like jump back and forth to get through that. And I was thinking about it, and it's like, okay, this is fun gameplay wise. It gives me another reason to use this item that you don't really use anywhere else, but it doesn't make sense for why it's there. Like, okay, the staircase is broken, so I need to use the spinner to get down, but why are these places for the gear to hook into on the wall to begin with, and they just happen to be here where they aren't anywhere else? Like, did Ganon after Ganon destroyed the staircase, did he like make it so that, I don't know, like it's just really weird.
I'm gonna break this staircase, but first let's make sure that these gear tracks are just along the rail for this.
Exactly. And some of them do have like the spikes or whatever that are going along the gears, so that it makes it seem like it's more dangerous for people that's just walking up. But some of them don't have the spike traps on the gear, so it's like, what? It doesn't make sense to the world. Gameplay wise, yeah, it's to make it more challenging, more fun or whatever, but to the story, thinking about it realistically, it's like it doesn't really make sense. But anyways, Sexy McIntyre, what is yours?
Well, it's hard to decide because I have two main gripes, and
I like grapes.
Yeah, there's two main things that I hate, which like there's one that's like for personal reasons, and then there's one that's just objectively terrible. Okay. But like the one that I just hate personally is the stupid worms that pop up out of the ground. Like just the like worm enemies that just like come out of tiles.
Oh, like from under the tiles? Like
yeah. They're under the tiles and they pop out.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Oh, they're annoying.
Like in the Forest Temple.
Yeah, they're also in the Sky Temple, and that it's one of my favorite bits, but also one of my least favorite because of that.
Fair enough. Yeah,
it's like it's a love-hate relationship. But they just launch around and just
really annoying.
And
like,
what's the other?
There are ways to deal with them, but it's just like, why do you do this?
All right. Well, since that was so short, what's your other?
The other one that's just objectively terrible is the magic armor.
Oh
my, true. I agree with that. I agree with that.
Like, it's just so inconvenient in every way. You have to do so much random crap and collect so many rupees just to get it. And then once you do, it's just you need even more rupees to manage to walk around in the dang thing. It's two rupees every step, I think, something like that.
Yeah, what they should a better way is however many rupees you have, it takes a third or half of whatever's in your wallet, and then it just lasts until you either exit the room or maybe
just take the armor off or whatever.
Yeah, or you take it off, or maybe like it doubles your hearts. Like in Ocarina of Time, you get the last power up from the fairy, doubles the amount of damage you can take, I think. So if this armor did the same thing to where you put it on and it takes half of your rupees away automatically, and then it kind of just doubles your heart so it doesn't slowly take money over time. But like if you have, like if one hit takes away one heart, now it takes 2 hits to take away 1 heart.
Right.
And then once all of the extra hearts are taken off, or the armored hearts are taken off, it makes you automatically switch back to the green tunic or the Zora tunic, but then you can put it back on, but then it takes away another half of your rupees. So if you have 5, or say if you have 1,000 rupees and you put it on, it takes you down to 500. But then if you have 500 rupees, it takes you down to 250.
You see, that would be much better, because at least then it would be somewhat worth going through all the trouble.
Yeah.
Or if it just worked the way Wind Waker's magic armor works.
That's what I was gonna say.
You know, like it which is similar, but it doesn't decrease your money like with every step Link takes.
So what's Wind Waker's magic armor again?
It's very similar, but it's I believe it uses up some magic power.
No, it doesn't use the Wind Waker HD magic armor. Okay,
right,
so original Wind Waker, it uses your magic power as you use it. For Wind Waker HD, the magic armor consumes rupees, but it only takes rupees when you get hit, and it takes away a certain amount depending on how powerful the attack was.
Okay, yeah, that would be better.
So, and so it doesn't slowly drain it over time like the Twilight Princess one does.
So they changed it from Wind Waker to Wind Waker HD?
Yeah,
between the two versions it's different.
Yeah, it's different.
Also, fun fact about the the magic armor from Twilight Princess is that if you get hit by your own cannonball, then you lose all of your rupees automatically.
What? Really?
If you get hit by your own cannonball, then you lose all of your rupees immediately.
How do you get hit by your own cannonball?
I think it's like reflecting it or something. I don't know exactly.
Are you saying like if you start up a cannon and then you walk in front of it and it hits you, you lose all your money?
Pretty much, yeah.
In which game?
It's like in
Twilight Princess.
It's like Nintendo's trolling you with that.
So that's the Ice Temple?
They're like, you done goofed. No more money for you.
So that's the Ice Temple, right, Connor?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah. The magic armor. The thing is, I do find a use for it, because in that game you do accumulate so much money that you don't need. That when you're doing specifically the Cave of Ordeals, then when you're fighting like the 3 Dark Nuts at a time, there's use for the magic armor there.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much the only time that I find that item remotely useful. Otherwise, it's just kind of something to collect for the sake of completing the game. And,
So, one of the things that I wish they would have done in Twilight Princess is when you put the cannonballs in there, they should let you put your ball and chain in there. And then when it fires, it sends you shooting with it.
You just hold on to it and like you go fly.
Like in Wind Waker when Tetris shoots you out of the cannon.
I could just...
So like if you need to get to this room on the other side of the Ilya is really funny, Luke. You said that last night we were all playing Fortnite and stuff.
Yeah.
And Ilya was in the chat and she started like laughing because of the Mary Poppins thing. Because someone said that last night. But yeah, like I wish they would have done that, because like imagine if there's like a huge wall that you can't get over, and because there is somewhere in that where like you can see through the wall and you have to like shoot something through the crack or something. I don't know, but like if you could just shoot yourself over the wall with the thing, because isn't there like a giant wall between, like when you go to the outside room? There's like the giant wall in the middle that separates one side from the other.
Yeah.
So if you just like shoot yourself over the wall at the beginning or something. But anyways, moving on to my thing. The emptiness of the world. So when you're actually in Hyrule Field, it's like the largest Hyrule Field. But because it's on the Gamecube, again, limitations. You can't have a huge Hyrule like Twilight Princess and have it filled with tons of stuff to do with the Gamecube. So they could have either made a really compact Hyrule with tons of stuff to do, or a really large Hyrule with not as many stuff to do. And since Twilight Princess is already like a game that could take someone hundreds of hours to get through and 100% complete, there's already so much content in it. Like, it has more dungeons than any other Zelda game. Maybe they thought, well, since there's already so much content, we don't necessarily need to have a lot more stuff in the overworld itself. We'll just spread it all out across a larger Hyrule instead of making more stuff and making it more confined. Which is also a gripe that we had, or that I put in the Ocarina of Time thing, was Hyrule Field and Ocarina of Time was very empty. There's really nothing to do there except the Running Man. Maybe there would have been stuff to do with the Ura expansion, but we never got that. Majora's Mask took it a little bit further, and there was like more stuff to do in the field, which I think was a little bit bigger than Ocarina of Time's Hyrule Field. And there are some side quests that make you use Hyrule Field and Twilight Princess. Like there is the
carrying the hot spring water.
Yeah, there's that, and like the cart that you have to protect.
Right.
On the horseback, which is something from Twilight. No, Twilight Princess got it from Majora's Mask, where you have to save the cart in Majora's Mask.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Is that from the Gorman brothers, I believe?
Yes,
is that
that's
on
right.
their track that you have to save it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, because they're wearing those creepy masks and being in a cult.
Yeah.
The cult masks.
That's really
Cult
weird.
masks.
Yes.
So I guess that's all of that. Was 5 things. Connor got 2 that time. So
Woo! All right.
All right. So Zelda mailbag time. We're each only going to take 1 question. We're going to try to make this fast because this is the longest podcast we've had for a while.
Yes.
All right. So I don't have my questions up. Daniel, can you look in the Zelda mailbag chat to see if there are more questions?
Well, yes. Let's take a look. But while I take a look there, we should definitely answer Nathan Cowart's question.
All right. Can you put it in the
since
mailbag?
you
And then
was so nice. Oh, it's there. It's at the top. I highlighted it in blue.
So I'll, if there are more questions in the one chat, put them in here, and I'll go ahead and do the intro and then get to the first question.
Great.
All right. What's up, everybody? I am Jesse, or Game Over Jesse, as all of you may know me. This is the Zelda mailbag for the Hylian Gamescast, episode 47 of the Hylian Gamescast. Actually, we are here with HylianLuke, who has his own Zelda YouTube channel. We have our co-host, Daniel, and we have another sort of co-host with Sexy McIntyre.
Yes.
Yeah. So you may recognize him from some of the voiceovers and theory videos and stuff that we have. But this is the Zelda mailbag, where we answer questions sent in from fans like yourself. If you want your question guaranteed to be on the show, sometimes we have way too many questions to answer, then you can head over to patreon.com/GameOverJesse, where you can get cool shirts like these if you donate at a certain tier. I believe the $20 or $30 tier, but just $1 guarantees your question to get answered. Just like all of these nice people. We have Gus, Justin, That One Pancake, Key of Time 15, Monica, Casey, Link Use the Triforce, Megan, Lunarium, Robbie, Shadow to Us, Rusty Caulfield, Lovable Christie, new Patreons, Jacob, Michael, Elmer, and Bootleg Boy. So, if you are a fan of this channel, please, it really does help out a lot, go to patreon.com/GameOverJesse, and we're also doing a giveaway right now. So there's another way you can support us, and you can get something this time, because instead of giving us something, you can get something. All you have to do is go in the description below, click on the gleam.io link. It'll take you like a page will pop up, and you can use it to subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on Twitter, and tweet about it. It only takes like 5 seconds, and you can have 5 different entries. So if you do that, you'll get entered to win a $20 eShop card for the Nintendo Switch, 3DS, or Wii U. Or if you don't want it on there, we'll just send it to you through PayPal, because maybe you don't want to spend it on games. Who knows? So you can go do that. If you are watching this video after August 22nd, then go to whatever the newest video is on the channel to enter the newest giveaway. Because for now on, every week or every 2 weeks, we're going to have another giveaway. This one's partnered with Nintendo Prime. The next one will be, we're talking to Miss Click, Zelda Master, and RMFH Gaming right now to put together more giveaways in the future. So the next giveaways will likely be with one of them. So anyways, our first question doesn't come from a Patreon supporter, but it comes from someone who donated around $30 to $40 total, I guess, during this live stream. So thank you for all of the donations. Nathan, who says, which Link are you most excited to play as in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate?
Yes.
I am going to say Child Link from Majora's Mask or Ocarina of Time. He doesn't have the hero shield from Majora's Mask, so I think it might be Ocarina of Time Link. But I would like to see...
But he has fire arrows,
yeah,
which is Majora's Mask.
Yeah,
right?
So it's a mix of both. So I'm really interested in that. Also, if he changed it up and said which Zelda characters, then we would have more of an option. So yeah, let's just, since it's a short question, let's answer it both ways. What is the Link that you want to play as, and another Zelda character, whether it's Zelda, Sheik, Ganondorf, whoever. Because it is a new Ganondorf model this time, based off Ocarina of Time. Zelda's based off A Link Between Worlds or A Link to the Past.
Sheik now wears the stealth armor from Breath of the Wild as well.
So starting with you, Daniel.
Okay, well, the I want to say Young Link as well, because we haven't had him in Smash since Melee. I already played out like Link, Champion Tunic Link when we were at E3. He handles very similarly to how Link has already handled throughout all of Smash already. It'll be nice to go back to Melee days and play Young Link again, who is like one of my favorite Links. Majora's Mask, one of my favorite games. So you know, that whole rush of nostalgia, seeing Great Bay back as a stage as well in Smash Ultimate is fun. Favorite Zelda characters in general, I think Sheik as well, because I've pretty much played Sheik in all the Zelda games as well, and I love the costume, the stealth armor from Breath of the Wild. It looks really good. So that's all my excitement there. Pass it on to Mr. Luke.
Sweet, thank you. I'm also gonna say Young Link. I'm so happy that he's back. The only time I got super ecstatic during that reveal, showing all the new characters, and it showed Toon Link, and I was like, oh, that's awesome. And then Young Link appeared out of nowhere, and I was like, what? I was freaking out. So yeah, I'm definitely excited to play as Young Link when I can. I'm gonna play as Link until I unlock Young Link. I'm gonna play Young Link from then on. But as Zelda overall, I'm gonna say Ganondorf, because Ganondorf's design, I love his Ocarina of Time design more than his Twilight Princess one. Like, his Twilight Princess one looks more sinister and like Doom-like, but his Ocarina of Time one is just so classic, and it just looks plain evil to me, and I really like that. And plus, his sword is being implemented into his attacks now, so I'm very happy about that. And I can't wait to play him. And he's faster; he's not slow anymore, so
yeah,
it's gonna be awesome.
With Ganondorf, this is a bit off topic, but I was talking yesterday whenever we were all playing. We were live streaming Fortnite. Or maybe it was during Tevi's live stream of A Link to the Past, because he live streamed a randomized A Link to the Past, and then we moved to Fortnite. But I mentioned, I think on one of those, that I would love to see as a clone character Demise for Ganondorf.
That'd be cool.
Because their attacks could be very similar. Like in Hyrule Warriors, instead of having Demise, they just had like a mix of Demise and Ganondorf. but he was still called Ganondorf. So like if they had that version brought over, or like even with the other Links, how you can like swap out the costumes and stuff. If they had like the Hyrule Warriors versions of the characters on there as well, that'd be really cool. But Connor, who are you most excited to play as? Link and then Zelda character. So yeah, which one?
Personally, I'm excited to play Toon Link because I want to see the kinds of changes they've made. Because I saw on like the Smash Direct that they actually changed some of his animations around a little bit. Like with his, it looked like it was probably his like down tilt maybe. I don't know exactly, but it looks like new, like some kind of different stuff. So I'm excited to play that because I also played him a lot in Smash for 3DS and Wii U.
Yeah.
So being able to see how he's changed is going to be fun. Though of course, you know, there's also the changes to Link and Young Link, but those ones I think I kind of get more.
Yeah.
Like I think I think I already kind of have that one pegged, but Toon Link's the one that's like sort of the odd one out. But yeah.
All right. So, well, sorry, Connor. What?
It's fine. You go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, have you because Daniel and I don't know if Daniel's played it since, because they've had Smash Brothers at like different places, showing it off. But we got to play it at E3. Yeah. But have you or Luke been able to play Super Smash Brothers Ultimate at all?
I have not actually.
Neither have I. No.
Okay. Because like at certain conventions and stuff, I think they usually partner with Best Buy around E3 time to show off demos and stuff. Like I remember a few years ago they showed off Triforce Heroes there. But anyways, yeah. So, finish what you were saying though, Connor, or were you done?
I was just gonna answer the second part of the question thing, which is I kind of wholeheartedly agree with Luke because I really like Ganondorf's new design, and just the incorporation of his sword is so refreshing. Because before that, he was basically just sort of a Captain Falcon clone to an extent, and now that he's like sort of got his own identity with the sword and his like old design, it looks so much better. I love it. And
that was more like he was in Brawl.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, even in Brawl, he was still kind of, you know, Captain Falcon clone-ish, but he has more of an identity now, I'd say.
Do you think since he has like the larger sword, his attacks might be similar to Cloud, since he has the big sword?
Well, I do think that some of his attacks will be Cloud-like, yeah, but at the same time, though, he's got enough variety with his moveset, it looks like, to Gardner being his own character, you know?
All right. Luke, would you like to take the next question? One of the highlighted ones, because those are the Patreon supporters. So yes. Since we're not getting as many questions this time, we don't have enough time to go through all the questions. We're just taking the Patreon supporter questions, or the people who just donate for the live stream. So we did the donation from the live stream, and then Amanda and some of the other people who are highlighted are the Patreon supporters. So again, if you want your question guaranteed to be answered and get your shout out and everything, patreon.com/GameOverJesse.
All right. So Derek Grant asks, if Nintendo were to remake Skyward Sword for Switch, what changes, if any, would you like them to make? I would say that if they were to port Skyward Sword to the Switch and make Skyward Sword HD, I would say to make the motion controls slightly more accurate, because there were times when my Wii remote connected with the sensor and it made like the motion controls kind of wonky. I normally don't have those kind of problems with the motion controls for Skyward Sword, but sometimes it did happen. So just try to make those a little more accurate. And I would say tone down on Fee, because she came up a lot and it kind of annoyed me, like more than Navi. And I don't even think Navi's that annoying. So I would say just kind of back up on the hand holding a little bit and improvise on the whole motion thing, and maybe make maybe make it compatible with a normal controller and just be able to play with a normal controller.
Yeah.
Yes.
We had Daniel and I don't know who the guest was on it. It might have been Miss Click, because she's a big Skyward Sword fan. She was actually in our top 10 best and worst of Skyward Sword video that everybody crapped on because nobody likes Skyward Sword apparently. Because like all of the hate comments in it, or all of the negative comments, were just people saying that they hated Skyward Sword, not necessarily the video.
Right.
They're just not a fan of Skyward Sword because of the motion control. But the story in Skyward Sword is one of my favorites. Daniel said earlier that it's one of the only Zelda games where they actually had a huge focus on the story, not just gameplay at first. Because usually they just focus on gameplay and then they come up with the story to tie it all together. But this time, the story was a main focus just as much as the gameplay was. But I would love to see a mix of the Twilight Princess and Wind Waker treatment. So when Wind Waker was remade, they used a new engine and everything. They actually changed the colors some. They changed updated the textures, added new lighting, shortened the Triforce quest. They added in the Swift Cell, which was an item that was cut from the original game. They actually had two cells that were cut. One was the Zora cell and the other was something else. One was supposed to make the boat go faster and the other was supposed to let you control the wind automatically. They kind of combined both of those for Wind Waker so that you can go faster and control the wind at the same time, which was really cool. I can't really think of anything else they added to Wind Waker, but with Twilight Princess, all they did was update the textures, change the lighting a little bit, and
they gave you the ghost lantern.
Oh yeah, they did, and then they they added in a new dungeon, which was just they called it a new dungeon, but it was just a copy of the Cave of Ordeals.
Except you're in wolf form.
Yeah, and then they gave it amiibo support. So with Skyward Sword, and Daniel and I, again, I think it was with Miss Click, maybe Kayla as well, we have a video where we talk about, in a lot more detail, all of the stuff that we want. And basically update it graphically the same way they updated Wind Waker, to where Twilight Princess looks like it's just running on an emulator in HD with better textures. And before, whenever it was Wind Waker, it actually looks like a new game. Luke?
I think that they didn't actually make any new models for Wind Waker HD. They just kind of because of the art style and the way the game looks, the contrast and everything, it makes it look like a brand new remaster from the ground up. But it does still use those original models. It's just the high graphic textures and the contrast and everything that they did, and because of its art style, again, it makes it look higher quality overall.
No, they used the same original models. You may have misunderstood. I was saying that the engine they used used a new engine in it. They used so the Breath of the Wild engine began as the Zelda Wii U tech demo engine. And then whenever they were making the new Zelda game for the Wii U, they were experimenting with that engine, and there was interviews. There's even an image where they showed this. I'll have to find it later, but it's they said that they made a short demo of Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, and Skyward Sword using the Zelda Wii U tech demo engine. And they thought Wind Waker benefited the most, since you could technically play Twilight Princess and Skyward Sword on the Wii U. It made more sense for them to update Wind Waker. So they used the engine to, they rebuilt whatever Wind Waker using that engine, where Twilight Princess uses the old engine that the original used, which is why it doesn't look as good, because it looks like it's basically the same game with better textures running in HD, whereas Wind Waker is using an entirely new engine, which that engine would be even more advanced and that's what Breath of the Wild ended up being on. But they said the reason that they wanted to remake a Zelda game with the engine was so that they could learn like the ins and out of the engine and building a game for the Wii U. And it was easier taking something that they already understood and applying the new engine and the Wii U to it, as opposed to starting from nothing and trying to create a new game. So, but yeah, with the Skyward Sword, I would want it to get like a mix of both, to where it gets the new engine so it looks better, has better lighting and everything like Wind Waker, but it also has amiibo support and maybe an extra dungeon like Twilight Princess. And the cool thing is, where there is no wolf form of Link in Skyward Sword, if they did a dungeon, it wouldn't just be a Cave of Ordeals or whatever, because there's no wolf form for them to like make it a cop-out dungeon. So
right,
yeah, so like that's how I would want Skyward Sword, and then give it like a custom amiibo, maybe like Link on a Loftwing or something like that. A Groose amiibo would be cool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Put Groose in Smash Brothers. That's what I want.
Shall we grab the next question?
Yeah. Connor, do you have the thing up?
Yes, I do.
Pick one of the highlighted questions.
Well, I found one here from Amanda EK, and it asks, what's the craziest Zelda theory you could back up?
Craziest theory?
That we could back up?
The craziest that you could back up. Like saying like it's just a
crazier
really
than
outlandish theory,
controllers and
but
theory.
it could have some merit, maybe, if you want to try and do that.
Like,
and, personally, I think one of the ones that I would say to back up is that. Well, actually, we talked about this on the live stream last night. Actually, is that the Kokiri and the Picori are actually descendants, or well, one's a descendant of the other.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. You could back it up.
When you have both fish turning into birds, I mean, you know, anything's possible, really.
Yeah,
like they could have just grown in size over time and, you know, become the Kokiri.
Yeah, that's the example that I always like to use, is that in Zelda anything's possible, because you have a fish that turns into a bird, but the bird can't fly unless it has the magical scale of a dragon.
Yeah.
So like in that sense, anything's possible. You have little kids turning into wooden creatures. So yeah, anything's possible. So
it's not outlandish to think that tiny people would turn into big people.
Yeah.
Now, I feel like as far as crazy theories go, first of all, I want to bring up Dragon Break, but I don't think it's crazy theory anymore. I think it's a legit theory. But Tetraforce is a theory I do not believe in, and I think it is a crazy theory, but I could back it up. If I really like pushed for it, I feel like I could pull the evidence to back it up. That said, I don't at all believe in it. So
right. I'm going to default to the last theory that I wrote that was based off of Daniel's theory of the Dragon
That's not
Break.
a crazy theory.
That
was a good theory.
Here's the thing.
Good theory.
Instead of because that was like two theories in one. Like one was the Goddess of Time, the other was the Dragon Break. Because we used the Goddess of Time to explain how they came back together. So mine would be, okay. So I was gonna say that the Goddess of Time is Hylian, but I have another theory on my channel from a long time ago that I want to redo, which is, it connects Demise, Low Rule, and the Stone Tower Temple all together. Because, so Demise came, like in Skyward Sword it tells you Demise comes from a crack in the ground, right? And on his sword it's an upside down Triforce. Low Rule has an upside down Triforce. How do you get from Low Rule to High Rule? you go through the magical
through
cracks.
the fissures and the yep.
What temple has upside down Triforce?
The Stone Tower Temple in Majora's Mask.
Yeah, so it's a theory that connects it all. And someone so like there's a huge thing of how Stone Tower Temple is loosely based off like the Tower of Babel. And the upside down Triforce is a way of the people of Termina basically saying like, we don't need you, to their gods or whatever. Similar to like how whenever people turn like a normal cross upside down, it's, you know, like instead of going for Hylia, they're worshipping Demise. And in Icona Castle, the king says when the doors of Stone Tower Temple opened, a huge evil came out and cursed the land. And the Temple of not Temple of Time, the Hyrule, messed up again. Stone Tower Temple has like a lot of anti-Hylia, anti-Golden Goddesses stuff about it. So my theory is in the same way the Temple of Time is used to worship Hylia, Stone Tower Temple is used, even though nobody, like Miyamoto Aonuma, had never even thought of Demise at the time Majora's Mask was made, because it was like 15 years before. It all still connects together, where Temple of Time was used to worship Hylia. The Stone Tower Temple is a temple, so right off we know it's used to worship someone. And it has upside down Triforces, and the only other character that relates to an upside down Triforce is Demise. And if Hylia was the god of Hyrule, then Lorule would need their dark counterpart. And who's the dark counterpart to Hylia? It's Demise. So maybe Demise was the god of Hyrule. And in the way that Lorule lost their Triforce and wasn't able to have the power of Lorule's Triforce, Demise created a rift or whatever, one of the cracks in the ground, the ones that Link uses to go back and forth from Hyrule and Lorule. So whenever they lost their Triforce, Demise came over to try to take Hylia's Triforce, which is what he's trying to do in Skyward Sword or whatever. So like it all connects it. Again, I have a theory on the channel that goes a lot more in depth. I want to redo it because I made it at a time when I was more worried about having fun with my videos and bringing as many of my friends on as guests as possible. Similar to like now I'll have like Sexy Mac be in the same video as Daniel, and then Kayla will voice a line, Ilya will voice a line. But everyone that I have voice lines now have professional gear and know what they're doing. Whereas back then, I would just have a random friend with like a few hundred subscribers that has a crappy microphone. But at the time, I was like, I used to have a crappy microphone, and I would have wished another YouTube person would have brought me on despite having a crappy microphone. But no one did. And I didn't want to be like that towards other people. So I would just invite whoever wanted to come on. And on that video, I had people like, I think I had like Commonwealth Realm, HMK, McIntyre Productions, a bunch of people on the video, even 2Button Crew. But now I would like to take the script, refine it, re-edit it, and then have it professionally done. And then re-upload it as a refined version of the theory. So that's my theory, is that like Stone Tower Temple, Lorule, Demise. It all sounds crazy because you're connecting Termina, you're connecting low roll, you're connecting high roll, all of these crazy things that have literally nothing to do with each other.
Right.
But it actually makes sense. So that's my thing. Who's the last person left to take a question? No. You had your crazy theory, right?
Luke needs to give his
Yeah.
Give us the theory, Luke.
Well, I made up my own theory that
Link is dead.
no.
He's actually the devil. Ooh!
That's it.
He actually never existed. No.
It was just two.
My theory
two
is that
tails in a
Link.
trench coat the entire time.
My theory is that Link is a video game character, not a real person.
Oh no.
In the chat, Javier, I think that's how you
Yes.
pronounce it, asks if we are Christian. I can't speak for everyone else, but on my Twitter, the first thing in my bio says Christian, Father, Son, blah blah blah. So I am, yes. Yeah, Amanda, this is your question we are answering.
Yeah.
Yes.
Get with the times. Jeez.
Get with the time. All right, but
You pay us money to answer your question, and then you're not even here when we answer it. How
He's
dare
waiting
you.
for it.
all right. So I have this crazy theory that
I like it.
the hero of time is actually 12 years old.
Whoa.
Because okay,
Which
here's
hero
why.
of time?
Adult Link.
Adult Link's 12?
Yeah, because in Smash Bros. Brawl,
You can't
says that-
use non.
why not? It's
canon.
Are you sure? Because it's information from Nintendo and it's on the trophies.
All right, tell
This-
us what it is.
It's why it's crazy. It's like this is what I thought of this like 10 years ago. So I don't know why, but this is like all I got. So in Smash Bros. Brawl, Toon Link's trophy says that he gets his clothes on his 12th birthday. And his grandma tells him that he's the same age as the hero that saved everybody
Right.
long ago. And
Wait.
there's
Yeah.
there's no way that they remember young Link because he was not the one that killed Ganon. It was adult Link.
I thought Toon Link was like 16.
No, he's
Toon
apparently according to the
I always thought
trophy.
he was like 10.
Yeah, according to the trophy, he's 12.
But according to an interview with Onuma, he's 9.
That's even worse.
But I
So,
mean,
none of this
he kind of
makes
changes
sense.
his mind sometimes.
This is also the guy that said he'd like to be scolded by Telma, so...
You see, we've got some little cards in the Nintendo.
And Miyamoto said that he was Bowser Jr.'s mom. So...
yeah.
You can't take what these people say seriously. You just gotta go with the game.
Gotta go with the
What's
game.
in
Gotta go
the
with flow,
game?
man. All right.
But yeah, so that would mean that adult Link is 12 and that young Link is 5. That kind of makes no sense, but like that's like what I've kind of figured out. But the way it could work is if young Link is the one that's 12 and they just remember child Link, and that would make adult Link 19.
See, that's always what I figured it was, is that they're referencing young Link, like when he began his quest.
Yeah, but like
yes,
young Link,
you're right.
but-
This
but-
is a crazy theory that you have technically
yeah,
backed
but like
up.
young Link had to go through the 7-year warp to become a hero because he was too young. Toon Link didn't. But at the same time, the Master Sword wasn't in the Temple of Time; it was in Hyrule Castle. So it's like this crazy, like
Now it's
weird,
in
bizarre
Ganondorf's face.
yeah. Now it's in Ganondorf's
Yes.
face at the bottom of the ocean.
Right in there.
Just in his head, just sticking out there, just like, well, this is life now.
Yeah. I made an entire video
That's
on
right.
this. If you want to watch it, feel free.
Okay, so that is definitely a crazy theory
Yep.
that he can back up.
Yeah, the game says.
Yikes.
That's the question.
Well,
I hope I answered well.
what's the next question?
Do you pick
I
the
think
question now, Daniel? Everybody's went.
I guess I haven't. Okay. Well, would this be our last question then? Because
Did Luke?
it's been
I
a
mean,
bit.
Yeah. It's
Okay.
Jonathan.
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 He says, yeah, it's Jonathan. Okay, so I posted my question on the Discord, but it basically is what would be the Zelda entry you would produce if, hypothetically, you were handed the directorial position. Nothing is off the table. Mainline spin-off, 2D, 3D, 2D, toon, realistic. Basically, what would you do if Nintendo said, you're going to direct a Zelda game, make it happen? So, I would make a spin-off title, not a mainline Zelda series.
Triforce Heroes, but with 3 Tingles.
No.
And 1 Link.
4 swords, but with 4 Tingles.
It's like
3
I would
Tingles,
make
1 Link.
Oh my goodness. No Tingle.
5 Tingles.
A RPG style game where you have a party
of 3 Tingles and 1 Tingle.
Wow.
I said Tingle. Alright, I'm sorry, I'm stopping.
No, it's funny. But your party basically consists of a group, if not the champions, very similar to the champions, with Link as your main protagonist, and then you've got a heavy Goron Daruk, and you've got your healer like Mifa, archer type rogue character like Ravioli and Ravioli, and you got maybe magic user warrior character like Urbosa. And so you've got this really very good, strong, balanced RPG party.
What type of RPG? Like turn-based? Like Final Fantasy or Pokemon? Or action RPG like Kingdom Hearts or the new Final Fantasy 15?
Frankly, I think an action RPG would meld better with Zelda fans. I don't think Zelda fans want to see Link in a turn-based RPG. But if you've got a party this strong, I feel like turn-based would do it more justice.
So when you attack, instead of having a traditional Zelda game where an enemy may have to be hit 2 or 3 times, when you hit, instead of doing 2 or 3 hits, no matter how fast or hard you hit it, it's always the same. But in this, it would be maybe one time your attack does 15 damage and the next time it does 25. Like that type of RPG? Or you're using hit points instead of... I don't know.
I mean, either would work. I would obviously want to feel it out and see how it goes, but I'm pretty flexible. Game? The question is if I'm making the game.
No, okay, so yeah, you're the director. But what team are you using? If you could use any team, like any third-party team.
Gosh, I want the Zelda team behind me. Why does it have to be third-party?
Which Zelda team?
Just, Aonuma and the boys. The crew. I haven't thought this through, Jesse.
The Breath of the Wild team?
Pulling stuff out of my arse.
I want the Star Fox Zero team to make the Zelda game.
You can't get off Epona, ever.
No. Alright, yeah, so finish telling us about your Zelda.
I mean, that's really the gist of it. Is it would be cool to see a game where you've got not just Link doing everything, but he's got a supporting team behind him that he's still your main character and you're the hero of the game, but it would be cool to see this group of people supporting him as well, and especially with all the races of Zelda, a really interesting cast of characters that are very different from each other. I think it could make for a very unique experience and some very fun banter.
I like it.
Dialogue-wise, so yes.
I like it.
Who's up
Who
next?
next?
Connor, you go. Sexy Mac.
All right. So I got what I wanted. Yeah. So the game that I would make is a spin-off of Breath of the Wild.
Mm-hmm.
It uses the same graphics engine and same mechanics basically, but it's the Master Trials, but longer and multiplayer. Now hear me out. We have the Master Trials, right, where you fight different enemies in boss rooms and stuff, and all the floors and stuff. And then there's also puzzles thrown in there, like puzzle rooms, like the shrines from the base game. And it's multiplayer, where you play as both Link and Zelda. You get what I'm saying? You got one player that's Link, one player that's Zelda. You can be either one, and it's basically just a big like trial run where you have like different checkpoint rooms that have like different items in it and stuff that you can grab, and you don't have to like go through it all at once. You can kind of do it in like different settings, and it's online multiplayer, so you can have like 2 people doing all the shrine quests and beating up all the enemies, and then finding fun ways to do the the puzzles. And you know who I'm gonna have repping it as the developers? Valve. Because
so you want like the Portal of Zelda games?
Basically.
Okay. I think Jesse has a question.
Yeah. This like having a Zelda game that's basically dungeon to dungeon with little to no overworld, having it multiplayer online, having checkpoints in the dungeon. That's Triforce Heroes.
Except for the fact that it's Breath of the Wild stuff, so it's even better.
So here's the thing.
It's only 2-player.
Aonuma, when asked what he wants to work on next, with Game Informer, asked him, he said he wanted to take what he learned from Triforce Heroes multiplayer and apply it to the Breath of the Wild engine. So you literally just described what Aonuma said he wants to make.
Well, I didn't know this.
Connor's gonna be just a very happy guy when the next Zelda game comes.
If my dream comes true in that case, I will be so happy. That will be the greatest day of my life.
Yeah. All right. Sexy Luke. What is your?
I would direct a Zelda game that would be a sequel to Breath of the Wild. Actually, no, it would. I talked about this in Hylian CC's video stream thing.
Ew.
Like a Zelda game that I would make. Ew. I would want it to be a sequel to Breath of the Wild. It takes place long after Ganon has been gone for good.
Another 10,000 years.
Another 10,000, 20,000, why not a million years? How about that? And then we've got a spiritual successor to Ganon.
Vaati.
It could be Vaati, or it could be a new villain. I was thinking it'd be some kind of like
Tingle.
Girl. It's gonna be Tingle.
The Tingle brothers. Each
Tingle
one
brothers.
is the boss of their own dungeon.
No, but it would be. I was thinking of some kind of like sorceress, or just.
Linkle.
No,
I'm sorry. My jokes are stupid.
It's okay. No, I like the responses. They're funny. But she comes out of nowhere and just takes over Hyrule, and completely out of tribute to Ganon, and yeah, basically. But instead of trying to bring Ganon back, she would just rule it herself because she wants to be like Ganon and not like be under him. She wants to be above him, but with the same motives. So I was thinking that along with taking over Hyrule, she also knows that through history, there's always been a hero that comes to save the day. To prevent this, she curses the blood of the hero so that that the hero cannot withdraw the Master Sword, because without the Master Sword, you can't take away evil from the world. So she would curse the blood of the also destroy the Triforce of Courage with whatever Triforce piece she gets a hold of. And the entire game, you would play as a new Link, and you explore a big world, kind of like Breath of the Wild, but maybe a little smaller, but there's more stuff to do. And like just a different new world. And all the dungeons and the temples, they would range from actual temples to caves in the ground and stuff like that. And every single temple would be a dedication to a previous Link that has fought through time and space or whatever. And the boss of whatever dungeon you do will free the spirit of a certain Link, and they'll give you a piece of the Triforce of Courage. Yes, Jesse.
Was I with you on CC's podcast when she talked about this?
Yes, you were.
Okay. I was thinking it sounded familiar.
Yeah. And that the the items you get in a dungeon will replicate an item that you get from that certain game. So, like, for example, if you're in the dungeon, if you're in, like, the tomb of Ocarina of Time Link, you would get a dungeon item from Ocarina of Time. So you could get, like, the hover boots or the mirror shield or bomb shoes, like, just any item that's, like, specific to Ocarina of Time, like maybe the Megaton hammer. And then you would use that item to fight the boss and save that Link's spirit. And then at the end of the game, you would use the Triforce of Courage and the power of all the other Links to get the Master Sword back and fight the final boss.
In the chat, Prism Black says Zelda Generations. And, yeah, pretty
Zelda
much.
Generations.
We got the Portal of Zelda, now the Sonic Generations of Zelda.
That's what it would be. That's pretty much what it would be.
So Darksiders is a Zelda clone. There's a dungeon in Darksiders 2, I think. Might be the first one. I don't know. But there's a dungeon that uses the portal gun. So you have to use it to solve puzzles inside of a Zelda-like dungeon. But
Wait,
mine, I guess this will be the very last one. So mine, quickly, is in Ocarina. So it would be Twilight Princess's version of Majora's Mask. And I've mentioned this a bunch of times. But basically, at the end of Ocarina of Time, after you save Hyrule from Ganondorf, your companion flies off, disappears. Link goes on an adventure to find where she went, to learn the story, whatever. And he ends up in Termina. A few 100 years later, 100 years later, however many years, who knows. Some people think it's like 1,000 years later, some think it's a few hundred, some think it's only 100. Twilight Princess happens. Link's great whatever grandson is having to save Hyrule with his companion from Ganondorf. Same story again, but it's his great whatever grandson. At the end of the game, his companion character, like Navi, leaves. Link, just like his great whatever grandfather, probably did the same thing and searched for a way to find Midna. So in his journey, maybe there is another mirror of Twilight, but instead of in Hyrule, it's in Termina. Or maybe he just accidentally stumbles into Termina, like Link from Ocarina of Time. So then, if you look at Hyrule, which is like, say Hyrule's this big in Ocarina of Time, when you get to Hyrule and Twilight Princess, Hyrule is like this big. So the same thing. In Majora's Mask, Termina is this big. So scaled up to the same amount that Hyrule is from Ocarina of Time to Twilight Princess, Termina would be scaled up as well. So you get a Termina that is just as big as Hyrule. So in the same way Hyrule got bigger, Termina gets bigger. And then when you talk to certain characters, maybe there's in the same way that you are the grandson or great-grandson of Link from Ocarina of Time, maybe the great-grandson of Anju and Cafe is there. And maybe some of the characters are like, oh, my grandparents told me a story of a hero dressed like you that saved all of us. Or my grandparents told a story about how someone dressed like you saved their wedding. Something like that. So you get all of these nostalgia.
He was dressed just like you, except he had bunny ears.
Exactly.
Other than that, he was dressed just like you.
Yeah. So you get to see Termina on a much larger scale. Maybe the same way that Hyrule Castle Town is much bigger and more elaborate in Twilight Princess. Maybe you get to see Clock Town, which was already the most active town and the town that felt more alive than any others. What does that look like with the processing power of the Gamecube? Like, it could be much more alive. Instead of having that 3-day cycle, you could have the full 7-day cycle like Majora's Mask was originally, or Zelda Ura, whichever, was originally intended with the 64 disk drive. But now you have the GameCube, so like, it's all whatever. You can do basically whatever you want in it. So it's basically Majora's Mask blown up to the scale of Twilight Princess. Now you could say blown up to the size of Hyrule from Breath of the Wild, but I would be satisfied with just the GameCube size world. That would be enough for me, because then Nintendo could make that in like a year or two, as opposed to 3 or 4 years with something as large as Breath of the Wild. But that would be mine. It's basically, since Ocarina of Time and Twilight Princess follow each other so much on the story, like, you save Hyrule from Ganon, you start out in the forest, you go to the fire dungeon, then you go to the water dungeon, something crazy happens. Ocarina of Time, you turn into an adult Twilight Princess. Zant steals the mask or whatever it is from you. So like, he tricks you into gathering all of the pieces and takes it from you or something like that. And then in so Daniel,
yes.
Demise. Okay, so not Demise.
Yeah.
Does Zant trick you into gathering all the pieces and then he comes and takes it from you after you get them all collected?
No, I think he just shows up and he's like, why do you have these?
Yeah, and then he takes
these are garbage. Like, that was Midna's plan, was to just get them to have something powerful enough to defeat Zant.
Doesn't he take them though?
He does take them, and he's just kind of tosses them aside.
Yeah.
But then he doesn't keep them.
Okay.
He's just like, this is trash.
Yeah. So I was thinking like that sort of thing was kind of similar to how after you beat the 3 dungeons in Ocarina of Time, you get the Master Sword, and then Ganondorf comes in and is like, oh, it's a big trick, he tricked you or whatever. Like, big plot twist. So it's sort of the same thing in Twilight Princess, but he doesn't take them, he just basically says they're useless or whatever. Anyways, they follow the same thing, and then after you save Hyrule from Ganondorf, your partners leave you in both games. Majora's Mask, he goes hunting after her, so in Twilight Princess, I imagine he would go hunting after her as well, especially since this isn't a kid Link, this is adult Link, so I would imagine he would be more inclined to go help his friend, because a kid could just be like, I'm just a kid, I saved Hyrule, I should get a break. This is an adult being like, I need to go help my friend. So I think there's even more of a chance for him to do that than there was for Ocarina of Time Link. And then you get all of the nostalgia trips from there. And then maybe they could add in other lands, since Termina's so much bigger now. Maybe north there is still what was north? The desert Icona?
No heads. Icona was to the east.
Yeah.
North was the
No heads.
Mountains.
Yeah,
There's
so
no head.
instead of having just an area to the north, south, east, and west, maybe now there is new areas there to the northeast, to the northwest, to the southeast. So like the diagonal locations have their own areas as well. And then have it so that you don't just enter from one specific area. Have it so that you can go from
so you don't need like Termina Field as a hub between all of them, but you could travel between these areas independently as well.
Yeah, like you could go from Snowhead to Icona or whatever, and then maybe there's that area in between to where instead of just 4 dungeons, now there's 8 dungeons. Because you have the diagonal areas as well. And then they could be like an in-between to where like there's the swamp and then there's the desert. But then maybe in between there's a mix of the two. If that makes sense.
No,
So,
totally.
Yeah, that's just mine.
I like it.
Yeah. I guess that's the end of the mailbag, the end of the podcast. Longest podcast we probably had, because it cut out a few times, and there's the bathroom breaks and everything.
Difficulties.
Yeah. All right.
Yes.
So yeah, this has been the Hylian Gamescast, the Zelda mailbag for the Hylian Gamescast. If you would like your questions answered and discussed, just like we did with these questions, head over to patreon.com/GameOverJesse, where you can guarantee that to happen every week, usually on Saturdays or Sundays, sometimes Mondays. We have the podcast. We go through, check the questions, answer as many as we can, but Patreon supporters or donations through the live stream get your question guaranteed to be read. Thank you all for watching. Once again, there's the giveaway. Links in the description. $20. We'll just send you the code or PayPal you if you don't want to use it for games. I don't know. Daniel, where can people find you?
You can follow
Luke,
me on...
where can people find you?
Okay. You can just follow me on the street.
I do that too often. So
You know?
just like cut people off and go to the next one.
To your house.
So yeah, Daniel.
Please, yes.
Capt Burgerson, where can people find you?
Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at CaptBurgerson, CaptBurgerson. I also have a website called burgersonmedia.com where you can find all of the things that I ever do, and work on. And otherwise, I'm here on this channel every week doing this old podcast thing. So look for me here. I guess I should mention that I have a YouTube channel called NSHG Films as well. It's kind of a shared channel between me and some other people that make videos as well. But I haven't really posted on there in a long time. I maybe should get on that. But yes, there are videos I've made on there, though. So please go check it out. Yes.
All right. Luke, where can people find you?
Sweet. You can find my new YouTube channel right here on YouTube. Just look up HylianLuke. You'll be able to find me. Or you can go to youtube.com/c/HylianLuke. You can find my channel there. I do Zelda live streams. You can also follow me on Twitter if you want, at HylianLuke, HyrulianLuke. And yeah, that's about it.
All right. What kind of content can they find on your YouTube? And do you have a Twitch?
I don't. I have a Twitch, but I don't really use it that much. I only use it if YouTube streaming isn't working, then I go there.
And you do have a Discord as well that you invited me to yesterday.
Oh yeah, I do, and I do have a Discord in the description. Not your description, but I do have one. And if you would like to join that, just go to my channel, click on one of my videos, and you'll be able to find it in the description. And my content contains mainly Zelda/Nintendo content in general. I sometimes stream stuff that isn't Zelda or Nintendo, but that's kind of rare. So for the most part, I stream Zelda and Mario games, and sometimes Smash Bros. That's about it.
All right. And finally, Sexy Mac.
Yeah.
Why should we care about you?
Well, you know what? I do stuff on this channel in particular, so that's a thing. And you can follow me on Twitter at ConConNugget, though I don't really post anything on there, and neither do I on my YouTube. So you can watch me for videos on here. And also, you can stick around and watch the Kermit videos, which I think are pretty great.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
All right. Really quick, going around again, Daniel, what is the video that you've worked on that you are the most proud of?
Ever?
Yep.
Is Breath of the Wild or Dragon Break. Is one of my best theory videos ever. Frankly,
you wrote, edited.
I wrote, edited, voiced, did everything for that video. You can find that on the Nintendo Prime YouTube channel.
Yes.
Actually.
Who we're having the giveaway with.
Yes. So I've made a few videos for him, but I think that one is one of my greatest videos. Other than that, there's another one I did that's on my channel. It's called Why We Love Super Metroid, and it's about a 20 to 25 minute video where I just gush about how good of a game Super Metroid is. And that one may just be one of my best videos as well. So, yes, you said one, but I gave you two. There you go.
Luke, what is the video that you are most proud of? The one video that people interested in your stuff, instead of just going to your YouTube channel and seeing a bunch of random stuff, what's the one video they should watch?
While my channel is mainly like streaming and Zelda related stuff, the one I'm most proud of are my Breath of the Wind Waker trailers, because I put a lot of effort into this, and I used my film class skills to get the cinematics looking good and all that, and I used...
Nathan donated another $5. Thank you, Nathan.
Oh, wow.
What the heck?
The heck? Yeah, but out of the two of them, I would have to say the Switch presentation trailer, just because it took a lot more effort than the other one did, and I made a lot more shots and stuff, and it didn't get more views than the first one, but I'm more proud of that second one.
All right. Finally, Sexy Mac, what is the video that you were a part of that you're the most proud of?
I would say that's probably... It's a toss-up between the Kermit Breath of the Wild review and the like Breath of the Wild timeline video, because both of those I really enjoy and I thought were fun to do. Though I'd say I'm probably more proud of the timeline one, because that one was the more professional one. I just thought that was just the one that came out the best.
All right.
Yeah.
Finally, I am Game Over Jesse. YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, Facebook, everything is /GameOverJesse. If you're watching this, especially this long into the mailbag, you watched the whole mailbag, probably already a fan, probably know everything already, so you don't really need to know what I make, because you probably already know. But thanks everybody for watching. Thank you guys for joining as guests. Thank you, Nate, and everyone else for your donations through the live stream. Sona Kodoku, I guess? Is that how you pronounce that? Says,
Sona Kodoku.
I really like the Zelda ideal you had, Jesse. I binge watched your videos because I love hearing other opinions and ideas. That's the entire point of this podcast, is to not just give you one perspective or one opinion on the news or a topic, but to bring in a bunch of different people so you can hear a bunch of different opinions. But thank you everybody for joining. Thank you everybody for watching. And we're out.
Bye!